which consists of only the regulators and the policymakers, and the second one will be more of a, so to speak, practical one, consisting of the industry members and the advisors. So I would like to invite the first four colleagues. So Vilma Mačerauskienė from this table, Vilma Mačerauskienė and Saulius Atsevičius, please. Maili Kuk, our speaker here, and Rosvaldas Kushner. So please, and leave me this one. Okay, so. Yeah, it resembles more or less the situation here. So thank you very much for being here. I suppose this this event, the whole event, is being recorded. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I wanted to say that for this kind of an atmosphere that we're having here, we could even use the Chatham House rule. For those who are familiar with it, that's one-off. Or for those who are not familiar with it, that's the rule where we can use all the information that is presented here, but we cannot make reference to who told that. So basically, if anybody wants to unleash all, everything that that he has in his mind, so just please proceed. And yeah, so let's kick off. I think I will need to be a bit shorter because of the delay. And I would like to begin with the regulators of Lithuania, and then turn to the regulators of Estonia. To have the current state that we're having right now. I'm happy with it, and a bit of the historical part where how we came here. But for that historical part, I think I will turn to Vilma. And yeah, so if I may ask you to introduce yourselves briefly and go forward with the current state of what we're having right now. Please begin with the Lithuanian part. Thank you.
Thank you. So the current state is pretty good. We have e-market that's been expanding for a while. It's still expanding. We got around 20 new companies last year. Obviously, the expansion has to be sustainable. So this is the part maybe that we may want to improve in the current environment, in the current political environment, in the current geopolitical environment, the economical environment. Obviously, we have sanctions, we have geopolitical tensions that may lead to certain new risks that we have not faced yet. So it may be cyber risks, other risks, attacks, energy shortages. So we need to expand on all those risks now and improve that area. So the view is we have to make the license in Lithuania as a sign of the highest quality, and to make that small gap, what we still have, to make the market perfect, make that gap and make the market perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you can share or can, yeah.
There's one actually.
Yeah, so, I think you can use that. So, Roswald has introduced himself, so he's an advisor to the member to the board of Lithuanian Bank, or the Bank of Lithuania. And yeah, let's turn to Marie. Yeah, please introduce yourself shortly, because the majority of here don't know you, so yeah.
To be honest, I'm not a regulator in this panel. I'm from Estonia. Professionally, what I do is I had innovation department, also our innovation hub. So I hope that the questions will be towards this topic more.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and when I think about Estonian regulations and the current situation, then mostly what we're doing, we're having European regulations. It means that in Fintech specific legislation or regulations, we don't have. Our Minister of Finance have proposed some of the ideas, but there isn't anything right now. But I think that maybe in more general view, I guess that this European digital finance package is something very good that is coming. It is really good for small countries like us, because what it actually does is that it makes those small countries more competitive, because even the biggest countries in Europe, like Germany or France, they are not the biggest financial markets. And if we have this one single market behind our back, then this is something that we really have to be grateful for. I also think that in that regard, that if any restriction or any country should, develop its own regulations in this field, it's not that good idea. I think that the more harmonized it is, the easier it is for our companies to passport their businesses. So yeah, I think this is the current situation. When I'm looking forward, I'm really waiting for Mika, because in Estonia we see that this is a regulation that must come sooner than later, because we have a lot of crypto asset companies there, and yeah, this is maybe the risk in this part.
Okay, so that actually that's the perfect overview of the current situation in Estonia. It's not something like you cannot cover. So in the innovation department, what do you actually do? What's what does the department do in general in Estonia currently? Because you most probably have a direction. We see in Lithuania the direction is clear, basically. So what is the direction that you have in Estonia?
Yeah, I'm so jealous of Lithuania. Like when I read about that in 2016, you already had good place in this Fintech strategy, and for government and authorities and everyone was working for the same goal. I just couldn't believe it. Like in Estonia, we're not that far yet, but I hope that we're heading towards it. You asked about this innovation
Yes.
hub. This is also really new activity or a hub in our country. It's been there for 1 year. We are basically helping fintech companies to understand what kind of legislation or regulations apply to their business models. And what we see is that fintechs, the most problematic part for them is that they don't know if the regulations apply to their business model. Like fintechs, they operate in a really highly regulated financial services world, and oftentimes it happens that some of their activities also fall under regulations that are established for traditional financial sector. And of course, if that happens, then those companies must follow the rules. And the problem is that they don't know the rules, because fintech companies are usually established by the people that come from different backgrounds, and they don't have experience with regulations. So basically want that someone makes their hand and walks through this situation and explains everything related to it.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much. Let's turn to Vilma. You've been, in the industry, with the policymaker for a while. Could you please run us through, the historical part, because you had, the direction, what actually, initiated and drove the idea back, back in 2015, 2016. And what is, because I know that you have the new guidelines that will be published really shortly. So can you run us through a bit the historical part and focus on what's next, in that direction, in order for not only Estonians but everybody else to be jealous of, to continue to be jealous of.
Thank you, Andres, and really, starting with the implementation, as you asked before. So I'm Vilma Mažurauskienė, Financial Money Policy Department within the Ministry of Finance. So basically, fintech is one of the areas within my department, and in principle, it is very highly on the agenda in our department. It is also very highly on the political agenda of the government. And as colleagues were saying, that jealous of the public authorities initiative taken back already in 2016. So this is really the truth. I can confirm this, that basically we mark the year 2016 as a year of when fintech sector started to grow in Lithuania. Basically, at the beginning, that was pretty much the initiative taken by public authorities, Ministry of Finance and Bank of Lithuania. So basically, in 2016, we gathered experts around the table from different areas to start with and to make an analysis of the situation. So in principle, if you want to achieve something, to change something, basically you need to know, so where we are, what is the situation. So we started with the analysis prepared by the expert group, and that analysis covered 4 areas. So it's talents, it's capital, it's demand for services, and perhaps the most important, it's regulatory and legal environment. So, this strategy was prepared and then approved by the government, and also the strategy was as part of that document was also prepared an action plan which was renewed annually, and basically showing and ensuring that this plan is up to date and renewed every year. So the last action plan was approved last year, and so each year we analyze what still needs to be done, what still can be improved, so that fintech sector growth is ensured and enforced. So what sort of measures do we usually have in that fintech action plan annually approved by the government? So many different measures in many different areas. To start with some legal amendments that are identified as needed. For example, let's say a specialized banking license in the law of the bank, crowdfunding law, the amendments last year. Okay, and perhaps I will not name all sorts of the law that were amended previously, just to enable fintech growth, but many different measures. Also measures from regulators on the regulators side. But, since we have Roswalders here, I will not name them. So all of this, perhaps now we can already conclude that was a success story, because we already have the results from implementing that strategy from 2016, and well, to name the success in numbers. So we are recognized globally in global indexes. We rank number 10 okay, and I can name some more indexes where we are seen and recognized. Let's say we are number 1 in the European Union by number of licenses in fintech sector. Of course, when going further, well, the number of companies increased by 3 times since 2016. Number of employees employed by the sector also tripled since 2017. Well, perhaps quite obvious that investments into this sector are also growing. And again, from the client's perspective, from consumers' perspective, what did we achieve? By the way, I didn't mention what was the driving force to have this.
So I would.
This fintech strategy. So basically, at the beginning, it was thought that we need to increase competition in the financial services sector. Market was quite concentrated by some market participants, and there was a lack of competition. So basically, what we already see now, so that this goal to many instances is already achieved, but only in a way, not fully, not exactly, but what we already see that clients are using. Both natural and legal persons are using fintech services, and our next service show that even more people will be willing to explore and to use this services. So basically, this is showing that still there is a huge potential to further expand. And
so and turning to the basically to the future, to the short and midterm future. So so if you're building upon the success, you can correct me if I'm wrong later on, but you're building upon the success story that you have. So what's next? What's the focus and what's driving it?
Yes, exactly. So we are building on the success story, but we should not sleep on the laurels. And basically, since the term of fintech strategy has expired, so we are exactly at the point now just to stop and to look around a bit and to decide what's next for the next 5 years and where we want to be in, let's say, in 5 years time. So for this reason, we again gathered expert group. This time it consists of 70 experts, which is really great. Having so many people dedicated for this work, these experts are coming both from public and private sector this time, and the task of this working group is to prepare guidelines for the next 5-year terms, and we are again performing a lot of analysis. I can name it's 4 different types of surveys that were performed. It includes questionnaires that were sent to fintech companies. Also, one more survey from public for people, just to know their opinion and their awareness and their willingness to use fintech services. also non-fintech companies and businesses were surveyed. So now we have quite broad picture of what is going on what in the market, what kind of problems are, and in principle, based on the results of this analysis, we are preparing recommendations. And as you were rightly making these recommendations and guidelines will be coming up soon. By the end of June, we already expect to have them, and also to put a political strength to these guidelines. We intend to the government and again to approve them. And what are these guidelines about? These guidelines cover 4 broad areas. It is fintech sector growth and maturity. So what needs to be done here in this regard? The second work stream area of the guidelines is devoted to answer the questions how to increase the use of fintech services and to increase the awareness of these services. The third area or work stream is related to fostering innovation use. And the last, but not least, perhaps the area is further increasing risk management. So risk management, of course, it is an area where we are already doing a lot, and well, the achievements already are seen, but again, this is an area where we never stop.
Okay, understood. So, in your opinion, is Lithuania the appetite of risk of Lithuania is high, or let's say how to say no? Because we always see that is it in high.
Hi.
So yeah, so I wanted to have a straightforward question. Do you feel that the risk appetite of Lithuania will remain more or less the same, or are you going, retracting a bit and strengthening a bit of the regulation and the restrictions and related and related measures?
I think that basically also this was touching upon a bit on this issue of question.
No, the risk appetite in Lithuania is average. If you go across the Europe, it's average. It's neither high nor low. To make one remark to Mary, all the cryptocurrency companies are now moving from Estonia to Lithuania.
Yeah, we will touch on the
capital requirements. Yeah. So obviously we have some risks. We've seen some experience from Estonia, and we see areas where we obviously need to put more effort and more attention to, and that means maybe tightening the regulatory grip a bit as well. So we don't have any scandals. We don't have any scandals with sanctions. We're rated well by Manuel, and just in general, we don't get fintech industry used for fraud as well. So yes, the regulatory grip in some aspects is going to get tighter, although on the other side, I think it's going to get looser as well. So the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Okay, thank you very much. You're representing right now, at least currently in this panel, you're representing the self-regulatory or let's say the association, a real self-regulatory body. Yeah. So, but you're not a newbie. So you've been with a member of the industry, or some members of the industry, with a regular or conventional finance institutions and the fintech industry. What's your take? And maybe let's turn to the maybe negative sides of the current situation, and what do you see? What could be done PETSA or how you see that?
Okay, Lewis, thank you for questions. I wouldn't be so keen on discussing the negative sides because on the other hand, we really can find a lot of positive sides there, you know. What improved a lot of issues to take into consideration. But you know, I see that one important feature we should not forget is because this is really a necessity of having a core between all the stakeholders, like regulators, self-regulators, players, plans, and stuff like this, you know, because you cannot impose only one idea and you have only one, say, the stakeholder relating the clients, whether regulators or market players. And this is really very important. It's like the creation of the certain culture of discussions, you know, because we build this in kind of goals. You know, we like to make this country better, you know, or frankly speaking, to create a lot of highly paid jobs, you know, to return our kids from the good universities abroad and stuff like this. This is really about, I see the future is really not like the directives, commands on imposing this, imposing that. It's really like about learning how to start working together and how we really can find the ways to reach accords. You know, having accord that we really can start issuing, you know, the laws, the commands, decrees, and you know, similar issues. I really totally agree that it's very important now to focus on the high quality of the processes of the, say, the stakeholders work, but it's supposed to be, you know, applicable to all the players. So for regulator, for the players, for the self-regulatory bodies, because how we can compete. You know? Frankly speaking, the West brilliantly did open the gates of Central. I think that's the core situation behind the success of this brilliant story. Was very clever situation, and thanks to incumbent banks, thanks to the arrogancy, you know, they created this good situation. And finally, we got really the big number of applicants, and that was really a great decision. I really appreciate this. I really very thankful to the Bank of Lithuania, say the former governor. I think it was also a very supportive person. But now it's about how we really can compete in this global market, how we can compete. And this is really again the quality, because I hope that, you know, there is some kind of the directive like the Anti for Payments directive. And there might be a situation in a few, 3, 4, 5 years that say the gross settlement system doors like Kristen Sapa are going to be open wide for all the payment institutions. There will be no such kind of advantage, you know. And then how we can compete, it's really about equality. Talking about equality, there's supposed to be equality behind the regulator, there's supposed to be equality behind the self-regulatory bodies, and there's supposed to be equality behind the players. And that's very simple and quite an answer how to reach. You know, it's very easy to say the quality, and how to reach. There are many ways. There are going to be a lot of hurdles. They will be smaller or bigger in the wheels, and you know. But this is the process. The process. There's going to be no magic stick situation. It's a process. It's about accords. It's about you know, discussions, reaching agreements, and improving, learning, and stuff like this.
Okay, just a second. I saw that I think Rosvaldas has a comment here.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I totally agree, whether you would be surprised or not. But yes, to begin with, yes, the industry is a good way for Lithuania to overcome the middle income trap. We talked with someone about it. So yes, Lithuania is not the source of cheap labor anymore, so we need to have industry services with value added. Totally agree. However, the attraction might be quality itself, so we should aim at quality. I'm not saying we need to only aim at numbers, or we should limit the number of fintechs or anything. Expansion should continue as much as possible, as long as it's sustained expansion. And I think this is the place where self-regulatory bodies enter the picture as well. Have you seen the new Batman movie? Yeah. So,
Not really.
yeah. So basically, the sign of the Batman is scaring the villains in the movie. The Batman himself doesn't have to do it. So if we create this environment where the fintech companies or the companies in general self-regulate more, and where the tight grip is not needed by the supervisor, there's not going to be the tight grip, and the industry can expand as much as possible then.
Yeah, but I really believe in the situation that when it comes to the industry players, we're here, say, not to have fun, we're here to earn some money, because we have the stakeholders, we have our interests, we have the interest of clients. And this is really about how to get a sustainable growth of your business. Finally, business matters. We want to be those kind of guys behind the unicorns, to enjoy the good life and stuff like this. And the sustainable growth is really, I think, as to my understanding, it's very important. There are going to be lesser amount of players in the future. Just it's a very natural situation. It's a very natural situation. And quality really means that we need more, how to say, sophisticated players. We need more specialized players. We need more stronger players, stronger on the global scale. And this will happen. But again, this is some kind of a process. And again, quality, but I'm really not sure. Quality is supposed to be behind every and each the stakeholder of the process.
So I think we just both agree, but in terms of what we said about the profit, there have to be certain rules, right? Because let's say child labor is profitable, but we as society agree that we do not have child labor.
Yeah, but this is in our nature because we have very high barriers, Not everyone is allowed to step into the market and to produce. It's really good, but then you're supposed to use your brains, you must be sophisticated in order to rise up. I'm totally happy with this, the regulatory framework. It's not about that. It's not about restrictions, not about abolishment of ML compliance, especially risk management rules. Because risk is really not about restricting. It's about allowing to do your business, bearing in mind ability to mitigate risk. Finally, you have the risk, you have the profits, and see if you produce this economic value added, you can start working. Everything is okay. I'm really, personally, it's not the, say the association opinion. Personally, I'm really for quite, the tough rules, but also for some kind of, the quality of the processes behind these situations. Because it really helps us, to create the big players. As far as you really can comprehend a strong environment, you can comprehend, the sophisticated environment, you can have the right guys and right girls in the right seats, and you can start taking off and really create a big business. It's in our nature. I'm belong to this industry.
Agreed.
Okay, so
I like this kind of solutions, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. But okay. So these are the broad quotes and stuff. So what's the single thing you would like to see in the near future in the sector? What's the a single one thing that could be amended, added, removed, relaxed, and
No, it's not about relaxations. When it comes to the legal framework, we have the directives. We have some kind of quite structured the scope. But what I like to see really more bigger players. Because as of today, for sure, we've got some rising stars. That's okay. But again, there should be really like the real financial center with some kind of the very well-known players. And that's what my goal is really, just to have 5, maybe 10, even 15 strong players on the European or the international scale. But this is not only about the payments, because I really see a lot of issues related to the asset management, brokerage, especially to the credits. I think when it comes to the credits, private banking, the personal banking, our company banks, they are totally relevant. Sorry, but they still live in the 2013 and 2012. There must be a lot of new situations. I really go, but what is good that we've got finally sophisticated, say the regulator, we've got the sophisticated players with the potential, we've got the willingness and support from the state institutions. I really appreciate this. And this is really the good, energy, good situation that really can build this market. Because now it's about not only having the payments, but also having, say, wealth management, asset management, the brokerage, the credits, having the investment bank is really very important. because so my understanding, payments is an important part, but it's not on the top of the list when it comes to the sophistication. So we really can praise in kind of the center. It's going to be a miracle who can really deliver that. So why not? For instance, Luxembourg. What was Luxembourg 6 years ago? It was one big the steel plant factory country. Stuff like this. They finally managed to create the biggest back office for wealth management operations in the world. That's my wish. That's my dream. I have a dream.
Okay, so that's a big dream of big players. Okay, so thank you very much. I think I was informed that so we still have 5 minutes. I will need to turn to the audience for some questions, but for the last bit, it's a boutique event, as I told, to the extremes. We were speaking on this table. Do we need a fintech related events in Lithuania? You already told me that you think that these kind of events are beneficial. So what are what could be what's the selling point? Who could do that, and how, and because we had that once. It seems that it's not going to happen this year. So what are your thoughts, Gil?
Yeah, I think that it is always good for people from the industry and both from public sector to meet and to talk. And just before this panel, we exactly were talking about Fintech conference that we used to have annually, and it was growing exponentially, and basically an interest in participating in it we've seen was really very high, very huge. And so what is the value of the conference? Perhaps it's not only talking from the stage in the panels and sharing the information and knowledge and so on, but the value from the conference it is always also networking, and also those B2B relations that are being made by people who gather to the conference. And especially it is good having physical conferences, because no online communication can be so effective as face-to-face. And for this Fintech conference, this used to be a public initiative so far, and perhaps this is the same like with the strategy that I was saying. From 2016, the strategy, Fintech strategy, was initiated by public authorities. What we want to turn now, so basically also since the sector is already quite grown and mature, so also to turn a bit to the sector, and perhaps later when having these conferences, also having as a partner in organizing the conference, also private sector, so a bit sharing the responsibilities.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So, are we having one next year?
I would say that yes. Why not?
Okay, so that's good to know. So for the last bit, I would like to ask each of you to give me one single key takeaway that the audience could get back home with. So let's start with Roswell. But one single.
The single takeaway.
Yeah.
Žalgiris is going to win against Rytas. No, just expand your business and have a healthy risk management and risk appetite, value, return per unit of risk.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us as well.
I will use it to say that Estonia is going to host a global fintech lab this year, which brings together all public sector workers from all over the world, up to 800 people who are related with fintech topics. So I can share the link, and if you're public worker, then you can come to this event.
Thanks a lot.
I think that the first words that are coming to my mind as I including this panel. So it is a private and public partnership. So perhaps this is the driving force that will be kind of one of the most important in the nearest future in boosting this sector.
Thank you very much. Saulius?
Okay, I hope that Borussia gonna win the Bundesliga finally next year. You know, I wish it's really very simple. I like to see the country and the city like a really good place where you have the pool of talents, where you have the really rising stars, where you have the big players, where you have the quality, where you have the competence, and then when it comes to the financial sector, talking not only about the payments, but talking about the really very broad range of the services available. I truly believe in this can be listed, you know, alongside the Dublin, Amsterdam, maybe in the future. That's my dream.
Thank you very much. So I'm turning to the audience. Maybe there's, one or few questions that, because we still have time, we actually control that time. So, Yeah.
Well, maybe you can already hear me.
I can.
Good morning, my name is Tony. The question is to Rosvaldas regarding all the crypto companies coming to Lithuania. So how do you envision this to pan out, and what's your idea on the risk management side?
I think that question should go to Vilnius, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for this question because this is exactly the moment when we are preparing draft law amendments on increasing requirements for crypto services, crypto asset services providers. So yes, as it was mentioned today already, that after the regulatory some actions in Estonia, so quite a lot of companies decided to choose Lithuania as their country of domicile. And basically last year we been seeing a quite large increase of companies setting up here in Lithuania. And up to now, perhaps we already are having 250 companies already established in Lithuania, but unfortunately, the quality of the companies is not acceptable, and risks are growing. So basically, our initiative is to strengthen the requirements, both for setting up, for the establishment, and both for the activities. So in principle, we are talking about, we are increasing capital requirements, we are increasing reputational requirements for the management. Also, we are increasing some requirements for AML processes and procedures. So, and also as a next step, we are also looking at coming MiCA regulation that was mentioned by my colleague, and so basically this will be as a next step. But at the moment, we need this quick fix, as we call it.
Yeah. So, and I think we will cover a bit in this kind of a sector in the next panel. So I will not forget about that. Yeah. So thank you very much. I will now invite the other four people. I think everybody's here. So thank you very much. I will leave you.